Armored Core Lore. What if the Dark Raven worked for the city police? Today I'm going to explore this what if. The idea that the Black Bird of Death decided not to help the rebels, and instead gets a steady job working in the city police. So let me dive in. After the corporation helps the city defense force fight off the resistance, the Dark Raven's working time for the corporation is done, and so heads off to join the city police. With the AC, we see the Raven piloting during the defense of the city. This is the AC they will use for as long as they are part of the city police. As we know, armored cores are not weapons easy to obtain in this world, nor are the city police in any real state to be building new ones for any new members. The first major point here, I believe, is that the Resistance would not have an armored core pilot to use, making them a lot weaker than before. I personally cannot see anyone working for the Resistance, being as the corporation seems to have other money to offer. Saying this, maybe one of their own would have become their champion, but I don't think they would have done as well as the Dark Raven. In fact, I believe even before the second attack on the city, the Resistance would have been pushed back underground by the corporation who is taking over the security of the city. There would be no change that Father was set on using the corporation as his main defense force, and trusted them more than his own men. With this said, do I believe the corporation would still attack Father, even without the Resistance's major attack? I do. In fact, I think the corporation would have done it a lot sooner, taking out key players like the city police chief, and more than likely, the Dark Raven if they got the chance. Because, as they even said themselves, the goal of the corporation was to aid humanity, and clearly they thought Father's way of ruling was not the right way. Still, even if they did not get the chance to kill the new city police Dark Raven, the attack still happens. Father is killed, and the city police is disbanded to become migrants. And it is here where I think the real change would happen, as the Dark Raven would then rise up as the leader of their own migrant group, going back to the days of old before Father, where migrant gangs ruled the cities. And it's from here it's possible the Dark Raven would have then become the new ruler of the city. Being a powerful mercenary, with some, if not all of the ex-city police armored core pilots on their side, certainly would make quite a force. This being said, the corporation is not about to leave the Dark Raven alone. Attacks are still going to come, and it's going to be tough. Along with the corporation, it is very up in the air on where the Resistance, if they are still around, would stand. Do they try to work with the new Raven and try to establish a partnership, or become part of the Dark Raven's forces? Do they rebel like they did with Father, in which case the Dark Raven is now fighting on two fronts? In the case of the Dark Raven fighting the Resistance, I don't think it would be much trouble for the Dark Raven and their new force to deal with them. The corporation, however, is another story. As we saw in-game, the corporation was able to wipe out most of the Resistance and the city police in their attack. All this being said, and the countless if and buts, I believe what we would end up with in this what-if scenario is either 1. The early death of the Dark Raven, or 2. This stalemate between the Dark Raven forces, the corporation, and other migrant groups. I don't believe the Resistance has the numbers to fight, as such they'd all fold into the Dark Raven's forces, and the citizens of the city accept that the Dark Raven is basically their new ruler. Hearing of the downfall of Father, other migrant groups come to raid the city and end up fighting the Dark Raven and the former city police armored cores, along with their army, as they try to maintain control of the city. Meanwhile, the corporation is still sending attacks too. It creates this endless cycle of war, and this is not even touching on the rise of the Venidae, who now never meet the Dark Raven. Rosemary and RD, again, are another pair whose fate could lead to either ending up as travelling migrants, or allying with the Dark Raven, where the fall of the Men of Honor may never happen, or the Dark Raven's forces becomes the main driving force instead, forming their own version of the Men of Honor, or a faction like the Evergreen many years later.